Hi, y'all. It's Bridget Cutshaw with Real Things Living. Today, my guest is Bill Potts. He has a marketing agency and he has a tremendous story. We have a lot in common. He has dealt with cancer multiple times. Can you say hi, Bill?
Yeah. Hi, Bridget. Thank you for having me on your show today.
I appreciate it, and I'm so glad you guys found me because his story is amazing. He's dealt with cancer 5 different times, and we have, like I mentioned, a lot in common. And he definitely has a lot of resilience, which is what this podcast is about. And he recently, or is going to have a book being released later this year, and I believe in September. And can you, I guess, tell me what prompted you to do this? And I'm sure it's more of a takeaway of what you learn through this crazy journey, especially people, not just you as the cancer survivor, but your family, your supporters.
Yeah, it's the book was I started with cancer in 2002 with thyroid cancer and had my thyroid removed and went through radiation treatment. Thought I was done with the cancer journey. 2008 stage 3 lymphoma, 2014 lymphomas back, 2019 lymphomas back, 2020 lymphoma back again, plus prostate cancer. And so on
Oh,
September
wow.
17th, 2020, I had surgery to remove a tumor below my hip. And I woke up in the recovery room at Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, and I was basically having an emotional breakdown. And I had the nurse Jen reaches over and holds my hand, and she goes, "Hey, Bill, what's wrong?" And this wasn't like a little quiet crying. This was full-fledged sobbing. And I said, "I'm not sure I'm up for the fight." She goes, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "This is the fifth time I've had cancer. I've been diagnosed 6 times, and I know what's coming, and I'm not really sure I'm up for the fight." So we spent about an hour. The pastor came in, and the three of us spent about an hour kind of working through reasons why I was needed to be up for the fight and fight. And after an hour, I was good, and I'd kind of reset my point of view and was really ready for the battle that was ahead. And at the end of this conversation, the pastor says to me, "Bill, you ought to turn your pain to purpose and write a book." And
Yeah.
so I did. And so this is the book I wish somebody else had written, because I've been learning as I go and making mistakes along the way. And so the purpose of this book is to help others in the cancer journey, not just the patients, but the family and friends. It is like what to expect when you're expecting, but for
Right.
cancer. Yeah.
Wow. It is you mentioned it started in 2002 all the way. It's basically 18 years. If I'm
Yeah.
doing my math right.
Yeah. So it's been my 3 kids have basically only known their father as I go through this journey. So part of the book, which was super interesting, and part of what I really learned from them, from their writing of it, was, what's it like to be the kid of a cancer patient that's going through it off and on for 20 years. And also my wife wrote a piece, and both my kids, 2 of the 3 kids that wrote this, and my wife really give some good insights to other family and friends that are going through the journey, advice on how to handle it.
Right. It's pretty scary for them too. And me dealing with cancer, it was my sons, right? They were young. Mine were young when
Yeah.
I first had that. That's 2006, I think. Yeah, 2006. The last cancer I had was 2015.
Mm.
It was just weird. I mean, because to me, my goal was to be there for my family. I wanted
Mm.
to be there and watch my boys graduate high school.
Mm.
I'm sure you had a similar thing, and you're an athlete as well, and I'm sure that you had some setbacks on those kind of goals because you had to heal, right?
Yeah, it's true. Exercise is kind of my therapy, and my kids have kind of picked up on that too. So we've done a lot together. But yeah, having to reset when you go through the cancer treatment, the chemo or the immunotherapy has been challenging. I've been through it enough to know that I have to start over every time. And so, as much as I love to run, after I have to take that forced time off to go through the cancer treatment, I know it's going to be a slow process. For example, a couple months ago, I started running again, and my first run was 2/10 of a mile. And pre that chemo and immunotherapy, I'd run to 7 or 8 miles, and I come back and I felt great, and it was ready to go some more.
That is cool. I'm right. I agree with you that I think running is therapy. I've always done it. I get the runner's high. You probably do too.
Yes.
So what do they, because everybody's different, and because I've gone through this crazy process too, do they have an idea what started any idea what started the chemo? Not the chemo.
Yeah. Yeah. It's we've had a lot of conversations, both MD Anderson and Mayo, that I've been treated by, and I got exposed to radiation at the Department of Nuclear Medicine and a now closed hospital when I was in college, and so got that pretty good, and so that's probably the cause of the thyroid cancer. And the radiation treatment, which is I was given a pill form of the same radiation that came out of Chernobyl, has probably created a cacophony of issues, and it's pretty possible, we'll never know for sure, that that's been a cause of the lymphoma. And the prostate cancer is probably just because I'm getting old and now I seem to have a cancer issue going.
Right. I got chills with you saying that, because my thing is something similar. They believe mine was, because I'm a military brat, exposed to probably radiation. The rare brain tumor they have is called.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting, guys?
Wow.
Right. My real dad died of Agent Orange exposure. He was in Vietnam.
Oh, wow. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I don't know how old, you just don't, I was a little kid, but I'm not, they don't know for sure, but they attribute my type of brain tumor, which is rare, to be attributed to cancer. It wasn't cancer, but it's called a primary brain tumor, but it could be really not good. And that's why you got to listen to yourself, listen to your body, right? And I'm sure my thing is, what caused you? I want to understand, how did you discover the thyroid cancer to start up with? Was it swallowing?
Yeah, no, I just walked into the primary care physician. He looked at me and he literally looked at me and he goes, "Hey, Bill, you've got something going on with your thyroid. I can see it."
Oh,
And
wow,
the advantage of being a runner and being pretty thin, I can usually see these things. Even with lymphoma, I can call it out when it's back. I call them and tell them it's back because I can see it on my body, the lymph nodes. So
wow.
yeah, that's how that worked. And yeah, so a part of what started to happen even back then, more so, with the lymphoma keeps coming back, is that I've really dialed in my health in other areas, not just the mental health, but through the exercise. But my diet is squeaky clean. I hired a nutritionist to kind of coach me through this, and a dietitian to kind of coach me through this, not just managing side effects, but also how to boost my immune system, how to try to do anything I could to prevent it from coming back,
Right.
or getting another cancer. So it's changed my life in that way pretty dramatically. My wife jokes about it, how all of a sudden I eat so many vegetables. It took, getting cancer to get that dialed in. But it's made a big difference in so many ways, cleaning up the diet.
That is something I did very similar. I had to see somebody and they found out that I had a sensitivity to casein protein, which is,
oh, wow,
that could cause inflammation. And I'm not saying that's what, but it didn't help when I had probably breast cancer.
Yeah.
And that is, I didn't know I had that issue. And it's just weird. I think also, I'm so glad we have doctors like that can help people who are trying to help heal. You can help yourself heal if you're on a good diet, and find out if you do have sensitivities. They checked out celiac. I didn't have any of that. It was dairy. Isn't that funny? And I never really wanted dairy. My body didn't really, but then you get addicted to it once. It's kind of addicting.
Yeah, I've really pulled back from dairy, for the inflammation purposes. When I was going through chemo, really backed off of it to now I don't even want it.
No, it's not in I had to get, that doctor that I had, he helped me get off of it. It was you don't realize how hard it is because it's addicting, dairy, right? And I don't have anything at all. And I felt so much better. And when your body is fighting things like that you're sensitive to, that's when cancer can thrive a little bit. And right, that's what it'll your immune system is focusing on too many things.
So true.
It is just amazing how you've found all these issues. And I agree also how you talk about how to advocate for yourself. And that's so important. And I think you want to be around doctors that let you ask questions, Do you have that experience too?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest lesson I learned, and I learned that the hard way. And when I had the thyroid cancer and I got the radiation treatment, the whole thyroid out, and then they prescribed another round of radiation, at which point I put my hand up and said, whoa, 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 something doesn't add up here. And it was a for-profit, oncology center, and it just didn't pass my sniff test. So at that point, I went to MD Anderson, got a second opinion on that. And they said, don't get any more radiation treatment. They weren't even sure it was good to have the whole thing out, but I let them start managing that piece of it. So yes, at that point, I started owning the journey because I hadn't, and I'd made that big mistake, and I didn't want to make that mistake again. So I've continued with owning every step of the journey with my healthcare team in particular, which means asking the questions, being prepared, making sure you have getting second opinions, frequent communication with them, staying up to speed on what's happening in with your particular type of cancer, which I do not by Googling it, by going for, like, for example, for me, Leukemia Lymphoma Society has a great resource. There's prostate cancer societies, thyroid cancer groups that they've already vetted all the information on those websites. So you know what you're getting is actually scientifically accurate. And it's been super helpful for me. And you mentioned you got to find a team that's open to listening. When I got prescribed my first chemotherapy regimen with stage 3 lymphoma in 2008 at MD Anderson, I told them no. And they're like, what? I'm like, no, I don't want that treatment. They're like, why? I'm like, I don't want to lose my hair. And they're like, say that again? I'm like, I don't want to lose my, I don't want to lose my hair. I'm in sales and I'm traveling and I don't want to look like the cancer patient. And they're like, okay, all right. And so about 2 hours later, they came back, and I almost missed my flight back here to Tampa, Florida from Houston. But they said, look, we're gonna roll you in. We're gonna try this trial. It's called immunotherapy. You probably haven't heard of it. Nobody had till really 2009. We're trying this thing out, and if it doesn't work, then we'll go. Yeah, then you'll lose your hair. But if it does work, you get to keep your hair. And it worked. It worked for 6 years. And so I was kind of early benefactor of immunotherapy because I owned the journey and asked the questions and asked them to come back with a different plan, and they loved it.
Right. And it makes them, you're collaborating with the doctors, if you think about it, and helping other people down the road because you're asking questions. And then I love the idea of the new, I should say technology, but all this research that's being done to help people, and the immunotherapy is really good solution. I didn't have that, but everybody is different. And like when they discovered my brain tumor, they didn't know what to do.
Wow.
I saw 6 doctors in the one, and so I had to find the specialist, that kind of thing. And it's just weird. I believe my having the right people around me. It's not just your doctors. I think the nurses were really helpful. I'm sure you probably had that experience too. They were very helpful.
And still, I mean, I have access through the portal to access my care team anytime, 24/7, 365, and they'll respond.
Yeah.
And that's such a blessing. I also have a good relationship, and always have, with my health insurance providers. So they assign somebody. They have a team that does this. That's a patient advocate, and I find them and develop a relationship with them. And I was at Mayo, which usually everything was going clean with the insurance. I get there for a scan. They're like, it's not approved yet. I literally texted the patient advocate at the insurance company. She goes, don't move. So I stood at that desk, and like within 30 seconds, boop, it was approved.
That's awesome. I mean, it's
Yep.
just again, the support you got to have to make sure you pay for that. I think about how much all that treatment costs, right? And thank God you had insurance. If you think about it, how it all adds up.
Yeah, the financial side of cancer is hard for anybody. I'm fortunate that I've got insurance through the Affordable Care Act here in the U.S. and it's fine. And I've been fortunate along the whole road to have pretty good insurance. But even then, I mean, cost of travel, cost of clothes, cost of diet, cost of hotels, deductibles, all those kind of things, copays add up. So the financial stress, is pretty high for a lot of cancer patients, but I've
Yeah.
also received support along the way. Leukemia Lymphoma Society early in my journey, helped me with some travel. Southwest Airlines, helped
Oh,
me
that's
out with some travel through MD Anderson. So they have the big places, the cancer institutes have resources that they can then get you some support if you need it.
That's really cool. I have one more thought as you were talking. A couple of I learned one of the things I learned when I'm talking about my whatever current issue it was, I had to have someone there with me because one of the meetings I went to by myself, I was just so overwhelmed. I didn't even hear half of what the doctor was saying. So I learned to have someone come with me. Did you have someone with you on your, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100% of the time. You're so right. That's exactly the truth, because, you're under such stress, let alone how you physically feel from treatment or whatever.
Mhm.
My wife and I always had a list of things that I wanted to go through. And then I would review it with my wife before the appointment. And I'd say, is there anything else we want to add? And she'd say, we would. And then I'd like, okay, here's the list. And then we'd sit there together, and invariably I'd forget something. She goes, oh, Bill, by the way, this is what we wanted to ask. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness. And she would also take notes. I was organized. I'd upload that to OneDrive, so I had access to all that data. But yeah, super important to have somebody there with you. In particular, it's important to have somebody there with you during chemo or immunotherapy, because you had a lot of the same side effects from both of those. And so she was by my side up at Mayo for, I had 14 chemotherapy, immunotherapy treatments over 6 months, and she was with me each time. Yeah, keep an eye on you.
Our spouses are heroes.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's harder for them because
I think it is. Yes,
they can't do much except be there and hold your hand, tell you they love you, and watch you.
And it's amazing. Like one of my doctor appointments for the brain tumor, and I had to go to Northwestern, in Chicago, because that was the only specialist I could find. And my husband couldn't make it, so my best friend from high school came with me. I didn't know. It's just to me, the brain tumors freaked me out more than the cancer that I've had.
Yeah,
And
I can understand.
So she was there, and so she knew what stuff to ask. Even though I had a list, it's still, you're just like, I can't believe I'm having this conversation. But I just thank God, right? It's not just your family, but your friends can help you too.
I think the friends sometimes can, in your case, was probably could have even been, at least equal to, if not even a little bit beneficial, because there's less emotion, right?
Yes.
If it was your husband, he might have been feeling the same thing you were, which is overwhelmed and scared. And she's like, okay, yeah, let's get to it
right now. And I've known her for a long, since like we were 13, that's how long we've known each other. But I told her, and I support her too, just because I'm just going on topic here. She got type 1 diabetes after her second child was born as an adult, which is really so she understands the process too of all that. And so it was really helpful. And she was just the right person to come with me. And I got the right solution after that incident, right? I decided to go here back. It was a new technology at the time, and we had to go talk to the health insurance company to pay. It was new, and it's all good. And it's just amazing. I think your book, Up for the Fight, that you're going to be releasing soon, it's going to help so many people. It's just a guideline so that people don't have to, it's still overwhelming probably to read for some people, but you have it in one document in a way.
Yeah.
And is it going to be, I know it's the advanced reader copy guide. It's going to be in stores and online for sale, right?
Yeah, it'll be distributed worldwide starting September 13th, and it will be available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target.com,
That's so cool.
and independent retailers. Yeah, I'm really fortunate also that Mayo Clinic and MD Anderson, Leukemia Lymphoma Society have all supported it, endorsed it, and getting behind it too. So it's yeah.
I was going to ask you that if they're going to help you, if they're going to have that available for their.
Yeah, I mean, Leukemia Lymphoma Society already has it on 5 different sections of their website as a resource, because I think anybody that's involved in the cancer community, knows that, know what to expect with a book like this is going to be helpful. I mean, it's got an index so you can look things up. We made it small so you can carry it with you into your appointments. It's got checklists and things like this. I've test driven this book even before it's out with some people that I know that are cancer patients, and it's made a difference for them in their journey, which is really the purpose of the book.
This is so beautiful. I wish something like this was out for me. I didn't, just to hear the word you got cancer, that is just overwhelming in itself. And then you don't know what the next step is. And that's why it's so important to have support, as you know, like your wife, your spouse, or your friends, and having the right doctors. And I believe that you had the right, unfortunately, you had to go through some crazy stuff, but your experiences and what you learned, you summarized it and to help other people.
Yeah, it's been, thank you for that. It was hard to write. I mean, I wrote it going through chemo and immunotherapy, so there's days and weeks I couldn't write it. But a friend of mine asked me, he said, "Bill, is it worth it?" And I like, what's worth what? And he said, is it worth having the cancer? The answer to that was no, but now the answer has switched to, if I can impact one person positively through this book, then it's been worth it. So that really became my passion and my purpose the last couple of years to try to get this book out. And I'm just really grateful for the publisher, Page Two, and the distributor, Macmillan, for supporting it, because our goal is to get it into as many hands as possible, because we know it'll make a positive difference.
It is so cool. I just love what you're doing. And it's so important to advocate for yourself and ask questions. And you gotta have the right support team. And I always joke that you're probably like me, I'm a little stubborn too. And,
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Stubborn in a good way. I mean, like,
yes.
You didn't give up, even though you felt like you had to get that emotion out of you when you said the nurse, you just had to get it out of you to go to the next step. And
yeah, it's true.
I think the medical, the doctors and the nurses and who are in this field, I just have so much love for them, because I mean, they see, you and I have our own personal experiences, but they see lots of other people.
Yeah, they definitely have a heart for it. And, I'm fortunate that I've been able to build relationships with my care team. And so it is, when I rang the bell 15 months ago, finishing my last chemo, I didn't want to ring it. And my care team is like, I'm actually going through my last chemo, and I'm like, no, I don't want to ring it. And they're like, well, we want you to ring it. And I'm like, you should ring it. I'm like, why? Well, ring it for us, because it gives us hope. And as she says, ring it for the other patients that are going to hear the bell, because it will give them hope. And ring it for yourself, because you've made it through this step of the journey, and celebrate that you're finished for now. I'll be back, that's certain, and I'll get to ring the bell again, I hope. But it was a really powerful comment that she made, because it just shows you how much the healthcare team cares.
Yes, I think that is a beautiful statement. We're here because we had the right healthcare team. And you had a much longer journey, and the lymphoma is it's a tough thing to go through. So hopefully, I'm one of my brother's best friends he's gone through that. He's been dealing with it for like 10 years. I don't know the specifics of how he got it, but it probably, who knows, related to some exposure to something. That's kind of why I was asking about, how what they thought about you. And I think it's just a beautiful story. And so can you tell us where people can learn more about you and how they can reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. 𝐵illCPotts.com is the website, and you can just email me at bill@billcpotts.com, and I'd love to hear from your listeners. And once the book comes out, I'd love to get some input on that as well.
That's beautiful. I think you're going to get a lot of positive feedback. And for those that are watching the video, here's the cover, Up for the Fight. I think it's awesome. And you are a great inspiration, Bill. And
so are you. So are
Well,
you.
thank you. I'm so glad that we connected, and we're gonna stay in touch, guys. He's planning for a new race coming up in November, so wish him luck on that.
Yeah, I need it.
You're doing it. I mean, you've got the drive to do it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.